Oh, yeah. Okay. Hi, friends. Welcome. Welcome to week 2 of our month-long series on forgiveness. And this week we're going to be talking all about the power of forgiving yourself. And I decided to do this, the power of forgiving yourself, before doing the power of forgiving someone who's harmed you, because I feel like when we forgive ourselves, it's much easier to see that we're doing the best that we can with the tools that we have. And so, and I think that oftentimes forgiving ourselves is the hardest and also the most rewarding. So thank you so much for joining me. I want to give everyone a big welcome. If you're watching this on our Ziva Facebook page, hello, I love you very much. And I invite you to join us over on the Ziva Tribe. So all you have to do is search for Ziva Tribe and we'll add you to that group, because we're going to do a Q&A there at the end of this. And so that's the only place to join that Q&A. And hello to my friends on Instagram. This is actually our first Instagram Live. How's it going? I'm so happy to be doing this, and I'm really excited to hear your experiences. Even if you haven't done the audio yet, which I hope that you have, but even if you haven't, I'd love to hear what your experience has been with forgiveness, specifically forgiving yourself. And if you want to join us for a Q&A, you can go on Facebook, search Ziva Tribe, and we will add you to that group. So I want to know how many of you guys have already downloaded that audio. If you have, you can just type yes in the comments or give me a thumbs up, or maybe even that crying emoji. We have the most hilarious photo from one of our Ziva graduates, and she posted a photo. She's like, too bad that forgiveness audio doesn't work. And she just has like mascara streaming down her face because it's quite powerful, and it can bring up a lot of emotions. So just like with meditation, our theme song is better out than in. We want to give ourselves space to let those emotions come up and out. Same thing with this audio. Please don't think that it's just going to be sunshine and roses the whole time, because if it was easy, then everyone would do it. And I think that forgiving yourself is actually very challenging. I know that for me personally, I tend to get into a spiral of I feel guilty when I'm not at work, when I'm at home, and I feel guilty when I'm not at home, when I'm at work. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I hear this a lot, especially from women, and I hear it a lot, especially from moms. You know, when they're at work, they feel guilty for not being with their children. When they're at home with their children, they feel guilty for not being at work. And so forgiving yourself doesn't necessarily have to be around some big traumatic event. It doesn't have to be around a transgression necessarily. It could simply be forgiving yourself for not being able to be in two places at one time, because turns out you're human. Turns out your body can actually only be in one place at a time. And actually that energy of not forgiving yourself, of constantly feeling guilty or constantly feeling angry at yourself, or feeling like you should be doing something or the other, is taking your energy away. Uh-oh. Excuse me. That energy of feeling guilty or angry at yourself is actually taking you away from being fully present right here, right now. So I want to say a big welcome. I have a couple notes here. Yeah, we're actually up to 2,300 people in our Ziva Tribe, which I'm thrilled about because we just launched it a few weeks ago. And our goal is actually to get to 5,000 people in the Ziva Tribe by the end of the year. So if you have friends or family members that would benefit from this series on forgiveness, or that are just curious to learn more about how meditation can improve their performance and their productivity, please invite them to join the group. It's been really fun to see everyone's discussions so far. And also, I wanted to share with you some of the feedback we've been getting from the forgiveness exercise so far. A lot of people were surprised at how much emotion it brought up. Some people were surprised at how it actually allowed them to feel more compassion for themselves and for others. But one woman wrote in and she said, am I the only one that feels like I shouldn't have to be doing this? That, you know, I'm not the one that did something wrong. The person who needs forgiving is the one that did something wrong, so I don't feel like this responsibility is on me. And it started a really lively conversation in the Ziva Tribe, and I was happy to see it. A lot of people had lots of very passionate responses and different feelings and views on it. And I asked her if she had done the exercise yet, because I understand where she's coming from. Like, I get this mentality of like, well, I was the one that was wronged. You know, why should I be the person that has to forgive? But this is where I want to really highlight why I created this series and why I created this audio. It's not necessarily because someone else deserves forgiveness. It's not necessarily because you even want them in your life, but we forgive to take our energy back from the experience. We forgive to take our energy back from the person so that we can cut the energetic cord and really have our full performance capabilities for the task at hand. And so even if you don't quite feel ready to forgive someone, that's exactly why I created this exercise. And I would argue that just moving through it a few times is really going to help you to feel like you can get to a place of peace, like you can get to a place where it actually feels not hot to the touch anymore. To me, doing this work of forgiveness, and it is work, is like cleaning out the wound so that we can get to a place where it's just a scar. So this transgression, it's there, we know it happened, it's part of us, it's shaped us, but it doesn't hurt anymore. It's not infected. We don't have to protect it. We don't have to bandage it. But the thing is, if you never clean out the wound, then things can get infected and that infection can go deeper and deeper and deeper. So while this is not necessarily fun work to do, I think it's really important work to do, especially as we go into the holiday season. You know, most of us go home, we see old friends, we see our family, and oftentimes it's our family members that we need to forgive. And a gentle reminder that it is our family that actually installed our buttons, right? Our family is the one that literally installed every single issue that we have, so they know exactly where and how to push those buttons. So if you think that you're just going to ride through the holidays with trigger-free and emotion-free, then please give me a call and let me know your secrets, because I would like some help with that. There's my favorite quote of late is, if you think you're enlightened, spend a week with your family. And thankfully my family's amazing. I actually was just with my family for 5 days. I was just in Tallahassee, Florida for 5 days, and I was with my mom and my sister and my best friend, and it was quite glorious. We had an amazing time. But you know, if the subject of politics comes up or the subject of Me Too comes up, then you know, things get a little heated, and it's really easy to take things personally, or you know, wonder how you came from how everyone with such differing views on things came from the same household. Okay, so what else do I want to share with you? I have students that are like, who are you talking to? When you go, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm just sort of listening to my own thoughts, just letting some downloads come in. But I wanted to share some personal experiences of the ways that I've used this exercise and this forgiveness with myself specifically. And sometimes I'll do it around big events, like big events where I feel like I messed up or I could have done better. But as of late, I find myself doing it on with that phenomenon that I was talking about earlier, of just forgiving myself for not being able to be in multiple places at one time. You know, at Ziva, our whole team right now is women, and we have a tendency to say yes when the answer is really no. Hey, can you get this project on by Friday? Yeah, sure thing. But the answer is no. They already are at capacity. Their workload is already full. But because we have a tendency to want to please, and we want to make people happy, and we want to show up as the most amazing version of ourselves, and perhaps like a superhero version of ourselves, we have a tendency to say yes when the answer is actually no. And so I've been working on forgiving myself for saying no. I feel an extraordinary amount of guilt when someone invites me to their party and I can't go, when someone invites me to have a meeting with them and I can't go, or if someone asks me to be on their summit and I'm not available. And I realize it's pretty deep, this guilt of saying no, and this feeling of obligation that I should be able to do more in a day. I should be able to accomplish more. And I realize that it's not serving me, and it's ultimately not serving the people around me. And so I'm having to kind of dig a little bit deeper and ask myself the question, where is this coming from? Why do I want to be everywhere all at once? Why am I so afraid to say no? Why do I feel guilty for RSVPing no to this party when I barely know this person? And I think the answer comes back to this place of wanting to make everyone else happy and wanting to please everyone and for me it's a little bit of FOMO, like I have fear of missing out. But ultimately, if you're saying yes to a lot of different things, then you're saying no to your big dreams. You're saying no to your big priorities. And so I've been using this forgiveness exercise on myself to forgive myself for saying no, for not being able to do everything all the time, so that I can really focus in on my big priorities for myself personally and also for Ziva. So hopefully that is helpful to hear, especially for my overachievers and for my yesaholics. Is that a term? We should make it a term, yesaholic. Yesaholics.com. Okay, so I want to know what this was like for you. So tell me, have you done the forgiveness audio yet, and have you had a chance to do it on yourself? And if so, what came up for you? Did it surprise you? Did it bring up emotions? How did you feel afterwards? I want to open it up for a bit of discussion and hear where you are. So Jenna is saying, yes, but I tend to think that I'm just lazy, I don't see the rest of that. I wish they would show me the whole. Overachiever. I tend to think that I'm just lazy, not an overachiever. Huh. Wait, tell me more, Jenna. Because it's usually overachievers that think that they're lazy. If you don't think you're lazy, chances are you might be lazy. So tell me more about what you mean. And I like this. Yes, yesaholic is officially a word. So tell me what your experience was about doing this exercise on yourself. I'm just going to take some comments now. Oh, Deborah's saying hi from Huffington Beach, California. Hello. I like it. Oh, hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Geraldine. Here we go. Jenna is liking my jokes. Good. So, P.S. if you haven't downloaded that audio yet, we'll post it in the links here. And it's just, I think it's bit.ly.com/Ziva-forgiveness. Just like the most awkward URL in the history of URLs. But bit.ly.com/Ziva-forgiveness. And you can download it. And I would actually recommend that you pause this, listen to that audio, do it on forgiving yourself, and then you can come back and share your experience. So hi, Christina, nice to see you. So yes, FOMO is real, especially for me. It's nice to remember and know others, especially you, Emily, feel that way. And just being okay with what I did do. And what else does she say? What else do you say, Christina?
And not what I missed out on.
Oh, yes. Like being okay with what you did do and not like beating yourself up for what you missed out on. So yeah, Christina, my FOMO is real. And it's so ridiculous because my life is so amazing and I have so many incredible opportunities. And so to have fear of missing out is just, it's disrespectful to all of the amazing things that I am doing and all of the opportunities that I do have. And once I've started to reframe that for myself, it helps with the FOMO. And also, I think limiting your social media time, she says while doing a Facebook Live, but limiting your social media time can also really help with the FOMO. Because when you see everyone else's life, they're only posting the highlights, right? And this is not news, but it feels like, oh, I should be at that party. Oh, I should be building my own garden. I should be volunteering. I should be, campaigning for that politician, but we can't be everywhere all the time. Hi, Stacy. It's so nice to see you. I love you, and I miss you already.
Jenna replied.
Mm-hmm.
She said I did it on myself, but I wasn't clear on how I was to detach myself, and the quality feeling I had of myself was just a feeling and not real.
Okay, so Jenna wrote back, and she said she did the exercise on forgiving herself, but she wasn't sure how to detach from herself. Like, you mean like cut the energetic cord? Is that what you mean, Jenna? Like cut the energetic cord from yourself? And how to see that that feeling is just a feeling and not real. But I'm wondering what feeling that is. I'm just having a full dialogue, Jenna. Tell me all the things. Just have a little cell. Over there we go. Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Ball brought up about how, like last week, when she sees herself.
Oh, I see it. Jennifer Ball? Yeah, so Jennifer's saying, I tried to do it on myself. I tried to bring this up last week. But when I see the really young and really old me, I still hate them both. I feel inherently broken, and that I've always been that way.
The exercise just brought up a lot of guilt and shame.
So the exercise brought up a lot of guilt and shame. So Jennifer, a couple of things. Like, first of all, bravo. This is brave work, especially if you're dealing with some anger, some shame, some hatred, and certainly for yourself. So this is brave work, and thank you for sharing that. Couple of questions for you. Like one, like, are you working with someone face to face? It might be a good idea for you to work with someone face to face, just because anytime we feel like there's real hatred for ourselves, that's probably more than we can work through on this Facebook Live, and I want to make sure that you're really taken care of and that you're really well supported. So if you need some resources for some amazing therapists and some meditation-friendly therapists, we have those. You can email us at info@zivameditation.com, and we'll share that list of resources with you. But also, if we go back to our theme of better out than in, then I would recommend that, once you feel like you have a good support system in place, I would recommend actually doing this a few more times, because oftentimes, especially if we've been repressing things or not dealing with things for years and sometimes decades, then the first thing that comes out, the floodgate that comes out, is rage, hate, anger, shame, embarrassment, because most of us have been sitting on top of that stuff for a very long time. And so I would say be gentle with yourself. Please take very good care of your body. Maybe get some massages, take some naps, take some baths, take some walks, and please do get a support system around you. If I would recommend seeing a therapist face to face, but also your friends, your family, and maybe someone that you really trust, just confiding in them that you feel that way. Because I really believe that at our true nature, at the core of the core of the core of who we are, is 24-hour-a-day bliss. And that we are all divine beings, sort of masquerading as our human individuality right now. And so what is there really to hate, right? Like if you are a piece of God, or some people would say in their religions like a child of God, but the way we would say sort of from the Vedas is that we're all extensions of the same thing. That there's only one thing and we're all it. And that one thing is consciousness. That one thing is energy. And so you are a part of the universe. The universe is a part of you. And so what really is there to hate? And I would say really spend some time with that 3-year-old version of you. And if it helps, maybe take it down to 3 months old, so that you see yourself just as a tiny infant, so innocent, so pure, so new to the world. And I wonder if that might help to induce some feelings of love, some feelings of acceptance. And maybe instead of 93, maybe it's just moments from death. So moments after life and moments before death. Because at these like beginning and end points on the spectrum that is life, because death is not the opposite of life. Death is the opposite of birth. Life is happening all the time. Life is a continuous stream, a spectrum of emotion and energy. But if we look at these two sort of like fulcrum points, when we're born and when we die, it's when we come into the manifest and when we go out of the manifest. And sometimes if we just look at ourselves at those sort of matrix points, it's easier to see ourselves as that right brain collective intelligence, connected to everyone and everything, and not see ourselves as our individual left brain flawed human selves. So thank you again for sharing that. I really appreciate it, and do reach out if you want some help finding some support on that. Yeah.
Kelly said, she would love to hear your definition on forgiveness. What does it actually mean to forgive? This word has been around for so long, maybe we don't even think about the actual meaning. I ask because the word does have a tendency to trigger some resistance sometimes, but as I listen to you speak, it breaks through some of the old connotations. It unconsciously seems to hold. Hope this makes sense.
Yeah, so Kelly's asking like what my definition is personally of forgiveness, because it's a word that's been around for a really long time and it can bring up different things for different people. And so my definition of forgiveness, it's interesting. I would say part of it involves acceptance. Accepting the thing happened, because oftentimes when trauma happens, and we see this happen with certainly children that are dealing with trauma, if the trauma is so intense, they'll actually forget it or they'll block it out. And so this is a coping mechanism. If we don't have other tools, we'll just pretend like it didn't happen, or the brain will actually eradicate the memory. And so even if it's not that severe, we all have our own sneaky ways of doing that. If someone else has wronged us that we really love, that we don't want to see them through that light, or if we've committed some transgression or acted in a way that we don't feel proud of, then it's easy to just sort of like forget that part of ourselves. I think this is a lot of what pathological lying is, where we start to believe our own lies because we don't want to see a certain part of ourselves. And so I'd say that step one of forgiveness is actually acceptance. Accepting that things are the way that they are. And this, a lot of times people, I think especially in the West, we think that acceptance means surrender or giving up or acquiescing, but nothing could be further than the truth. The reality is, if you don't accept things as they are, then you're never going to change them. If you want to get out of a ditch, but you don't accept the fact that you're in a ditch, you're never going to get out of that ditch. So acceptance does not mean quitting. It doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean like, whatever, you win. Acceptance is acknowledging what is, which is always, always, always step one on transformation. So step one of forgiveness is accepting. Really looking at things, looking them in the face. Okay, this is how it is. This is what's happened. And then forgiveness, and I talk about this a bit on the audio, but I think it bears repeating, is that forgiveness is a decidedly human tool. Meaning that if we really truly understood the entire past, present, and future, if we understood where everyone was coming from, if we knew why these lessons were happening to us, and if we knew how things were going to play out in the long term, then forgiveness would be totally irrelevant. Right? Like if we had fully stepped into our divine, omnipotent, omniscient potential, then what would there be to forgive? We would see it all as already perfect and meant. But most of us are not yet divine. Most of us are not yet omniscient. We don't have the past, present, and future at our disposal at all times. And so forgiveness to me is a step towards our own divinity. It's a step towards up-leveling our own state of consciousness so that we can start to accept this reality that everything is working out as it is meant. So Ben is saying forgiveness, it's something I work on regularly. This exercise was just what I needed right now. It brought up some weighted pain from old wounds that happened over a year ago.
That I'm now finally letting go.
And that you're now finally letting go. Bravo, Ben. I'm really proud of you. That is inspiring. And also, how's your meditation going? I miss you. Oh, Ben saying meditation helps with this too. Yes. So I think that meditation and forgiveness can really play hand in hand with each other, because when you do drop into the style of meditation that we teach at Ziva, you're moving beyond the left brain and into the right. So you're actually moving beyond the realm of thinking and into the realm of being, which allows you to move beyond the realm of time, right? Because time is a function of thought. And we humans, we're the ones that decided that there's 60 chunks in an hour, right? So when we go into this meditation, it's like we move beyond the realm of thinking and therefore beyond the realm of time. And so if it doesn't move us fully into omnipotence or omniscience, it does allow us, at least for moments of our day, to move beyond time. And that allows us to sort of change the lens a little bit about like, oh, this only happened 3 days ago, so why am I going to forgive this person? Or I just need time to forgive them. If you have little reprieves in your day to actually move beyond time, then I find that it just makes it easier somehow. And actually, I've been working with a life coach who you guys might have heard me mention, and she might be joining me for a Facebook Live soon. Fingers crossed. Her name is Lauren Zander, and she's really, really smart. She's like a savant at life coaching. She just has the ability to read you and just zero in on your issues so accurately and in a way that's really transformative. But anyway, she and I were talking about forgiveness recently, and she thinks that this idea that forgiveness takes a long time is total crap. She's like, no, you either forgive someone or you don't, and it can happen in an instant. Either you think they're going to do something again or not. Either you trust them or you don't. And I would argue that you don't even have to trust the person in order to forgive them. You don't need to be dependent on someone else's behavior in order for you to forgive, because then you're vulnerable to someone else. You know, I see people all the time that come into Ziva and they're like, God, if my boyfriend would just go to therapy, then I will be happy. God, if my mom would just start meditating, then I will be happy. But you guys, to put our happiness in the hands of someone else's mental health is not the smartest strategy I've ever heard of, and it puts you in a place of vulnerability. But if you take your power back and you take the high road and you choose to forgive, you do it not necessarily for the person, but for yourself.
Jenna had a comment about your definition about forgiveness as acceptance. She said, like, how can I accept myself? I know where I'm coming from, and I still do say wrongness.
So Jenna's saying, if step one of forgiveness is acceptance, how can I accept myself if I still do and say wrongness? So Jenna, I'm not sure like what your definition of wrongness is. I'm not sure if you're talking about like some sort of a religious doctrine or dogma, or what you feel in your own internal compass, in your own moral code to be right or wrong. But I will offer this to you. And that is that according to the Vedas, which is an ancient body of knowledge that comes from northern India, I've been studying it for about 10 years, and it's not a doctrine, it's not a dogma, it's not a religion, but it is a beautiful system of thought. It's a beautiful system of healing. It's the same body of knowledge that gives us yoga and Ayurvedic medicine and acupuncture and feng shui. They're all born out of the Vedas. And the Vedas are a beautiful way to interpret the laws of nature and to allow yourself to develop a level of mastery over the laws of nature so that you can act in accordance with them. Anyway, according to the Vedas, there's no such thing as right or wrong. There's no such thing as good or bad. There is simply creation, maintenance, and destruction. And so the way that forgiveness plays into this is that if you're leading with forgiveness, then you're actually leading with creation. Right? You're choosing to go in and clean out those old wounds. You're choosing to take your energy back, which is going to give you more energy to lead with creation. And those of you who have taken the Ziva meditation course with me have heard me say this before, but if we lead with creation, then maintenance is naturally in second place, and destruction is naturally in third place. And the tricky thing about this is that what happens is that we lead with creation, we like the results of it, we like what we've created, and then we try to maintain, we try to hold on, and we accidentally start leading with maintenance, and then creation goes to the back burner. But if maintenance is in first place, then destruction is nipping at its heels, right? And then we all know what it looks like when destruction comes through. So even with creation, maintenance, and destruction, I would argue that we don't want to see those as good or bad. We just want to see them as a cycle, as part of the cycle of life. And what I've found is that if we lead with creation, then we tend to get more and more of nature's support. Life tends to happen more and more elegantly, more effortlessly. We start to notice more serendipity, more synchronicity. So I think that this forgiveness exercise is a way to start to move towards leading towards creation, because holding on to hate and anger and resentment, certainly for yourself, it's a form of, I think it's a form of control, but over time it can lead to destruction, because those chemicals that it brings up, cortisol, adrenaline, I don't know what else, like what chemicals in your brain hate would produce, but certainly it would involve cortisol and adrenaline. Those are acidic in nature. And over time, that can break down not only your spirit, but also your body. Your physical body can start to age more quickly if we're holding on to those negative emotions. And so forgiveness is just a tool to help you start to move into creation.
Mavik had an interesting question. He wants to understand the difference when to use forgiveness in real life situations. As he practices it daily, he's seeing himself light on things and doesn't really carry the charges further. Is it okay to be that way when someone is getting hurt and I am witness to it and it feels that it's wrong? So I guess what he's saying is that he's quick to forgive things in life, but when should you apply it when things are actually wrong? And
what's his name? Bhavik. Okay, so Bhavik is asking, he says he feels like he's really quick to forgive, but he's wondering, like, when is it appropriate to forgive? What if he's being witness to people being harmed or people being wronged? And so here's the trick here. You forgiving someone does not mean that you condone their behavior, and it does not mean that you don't take action. And this is really important, so thank you so much for bringing this up, you guys. Forgiveness does not mean passivity. Forgiveness does not mean that you're sitting in your house and someone comes in to rob you and you're just like, oh, peace and blessings to you. Please take whatever you would like. No. Forgiveness is a way of you taking your energy back from old transgressions, but it's not, and hopefully to be more empowering to you, right? Because if we're constantly blaming ourselves, if we're constantly blaming someone else, it's sometimes hard to have objectivity around an interaction, and we can go into a confrontation like overly heated, overly in fight or flight, and then we don't actually move towards any goal because we're overwhelmed with emotion or anger. So ideally, this forgiveness exercise becomes something that you utilize to bring you to a place of objectivity, to bring you to a place of neutrality, so that if the appropriate action is to take action, that you feel empowered to do so. And, you know, a lot of people have this sort of preconceived notion that meditators should be pacifists, or that it's right to never engage in any form of violence. And we could probably get into like a really big philosophical debate about this. But if you look at the ancient texts from the Vedas, many of them are about war. But it's about how and when to use war as a tool for everyone's highest good. And the difference between meditators, or people that are engaging in conscious practices like forgiveness, and people who are not, is that usually people who are stressed out, who are not meditating, who have not practiced forgiveness, when they go into war, when they launch into a fight or flight stress reaction on someone, it's not voluntary. They've burned up all their adaptation energy. They're at the end of their rope. They're at their wit's end. And then one more thing happens and they just lose it. And they lose their cool, they lose their temper, and they lash out at someone. And then that's a mess that they have to clean up. And that's what most war, that's what most conflict comes out of. It's not, rarely is it a conscious choice for everyone's highest good. And by war right now, I mean like conflicts, flipping someone off on the road rage, screaming at someone behind the counter, being mean to your mother-in-law, a lot of that stuff, that everyday conflict, most of that is coming out of people not having enough adaptation energy and people carrying around too much anger in them. So to me, I just want to delineate a few things. One, I'm not suggesting don't take action. I am suggesting that if you're going to engage in conflict, from my experience, you're much more effective at that conflict. You're much more effective at actually moving the needle towards resolution if you can come to that from a place of kindness, compassion, and neutrality. And we use the forgiveness exercise for that. So hopefully that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
What about as you move into the future, trying to forgive yourself, but people who you've hurt still look at you as the one that has hurt them?
Mm-hmm. That's Jenna. Mm-hmm. So Jenna's saying, okay, what if you forgive yourself, but people are still looking at you as the person who hurt them? So this sort of goes back to that idea of don't wait for your boyfriend to go to therapy in order for you to be happy. Don't wait for someone else to forgive you in order for you to forgive yourself, because that again puts you at a place of vulnerability and weakness, and it's putting your happiness in someone else's hands, and that to me is a dangerous place to be. Other people's actions are not in our control. You either forgive yourself or you don't. You either trust that you were doing the best that you could with the tools that you had, or you don't. And even with yourself, I think, oftentimes we need to ask for forgiveness, right? So if you forgive yourself, and if this is a relationship that you want to repair, and if you feel like you've wronged someone, I think let's not underestimate the power of asking for forgiveness. And this is a subtle but important distinction, is the difference between saying I'm sorry and asking someone to forgive you. They're not the same thing. I'm sorry is easy. I'm sorry is cheap. I'm sorry is certainly overused in the West. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. We say it all the time. We're like addicted to I'm sorry. But asking someone to forgive you it's actually putting the onus on them. But even if they don't, even if they choose not to forgive you, then you still have the opportunity to take your power back from that situation and choose to forgive yourself. And so, yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. Hi, Carolina. Oh, good. So Bavik is saying, I just wanted to share that I did forgiveness exercise.
Listing 550 events and 650
Wow, listing lots of different people in his past.
And has shifted from being an angry Hulk to a happy person.
and he's shifted from being an angry Hulk to a happy person. So good. I'm so happy to hear that, Bavik. And also, quick story. When I was 1 year old, I used to have this high chair that I would sit in, and my sister was 7 years older than me, and all of her friends used to come over, and they would get me to do the Hulk, and they would have me like impersonate the Hulk. And so there's like a lot of photos of me grabbing onto my high chair, like my, what's that called, like a tray in my high chair, and just like veins in my neck popping out, and they all thought it was hilarious. So little hulky baby turning into a meditation teacher.
Cindy's comment about how she's very quick to forgive others, but seemed to carry around the burden of every mistake I've ever made. Everything from treating a boyfriend badly in high school to wishing I had responded differently in a work meeting years ago. I'm sure the others involved don't even remember it. I'm generally very happy with my life and a kind and generous person, but I need to get rid of this baggage.
So Cindy's saying it's really easy for her to forgive other people, but very hard to forgive herself. And she's holding on to things like little things from work, little mistakes, little transgressions, and she's finding it very hard to forgive herself. So Cindy, I think that you're not alone. I think a lot of us are very, very hard on ourselves, more hard on ourselves than we are others. And so I would say that, you know, that's exactly why I created this audio. And so what if you give yourself a 30-day challenge? What if you listen to this thing every day for 30 days and every day you use yourself? You know, it's a little bit different from how I'm recommending using it in this series, but each day you could do a different transgression. It could be a different version of you, and I would document where you are right now, and then see where you are at the end of those 30 days. See if that doesn't really help you to flex that muscle of self-compassion and self-care. Okay, friends, so we're going to finish up this Q&A over on the tribe. So if you've been watching this on our Facebook public page, hello, I love you very much. Just search Ziva Tribe and ask to be joined in that group, and we will add you. And then those of you joining on Instagram, I would love to have you join our Ziva Tribe as well. So just go onto Facebook, search for Ziva Tribe, and we'll finish the Q&A over there. But these have been so juicy. Thank you guys so much.